Jacksonville.
I mean, everybody wants to get double-digit sacks, but for me, I just want to be a total, complete football player. I want to be able to stop the run because we can't rush the passer without stopping the run. And once we do that, then that allows us out of the quarterbacks. But I mean, like I said, I just want to come out here and be the best overall player that I can be every day.
Play fake again. Flacco gets hit this time, and he's going to get sacked. Trayvon Walker got him in the backfield. Second sack of the day for Trayvon. He got him back at the 46-yard line.
I feel like, the sky's the limit for me. I'm just scratching the surface of my potential. And I'm just, me being on the field is what's going to allow me to reach my potential. So that's my focus.
Mills pass is intercepted. It's Tyson Campbell with his second interception of the season.
What up, y'all? It's DeJuan Smoot. I'm back. Smoot Gang is back. What up, Jags fans? Let's get it. Hey, get a Duval on 1, 2, 3. Duval! Let's go.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Tom McManus, and Dylan Denmark.
Welcome in, everybody, as we close out the week. Mike Dempsey, one more day of assignment. He'll be back with us on Monday. Tommy, this will be the last time that we get the chance to chat with you for a couple of weeks, as you'll be off next Friday, as we all will be.
That's right.
For the 4th of July next week. How was the day off? I know I was hanging out with you on Tuesday and Wednesday.
No, I had to film the horse's mouth yesterday, so no rest for the wicked, but had a great show. Coach Campbell was there. We had a great time, and always a great time at my bar, Tone. So
there we go. Good morning, Dylan Denmark. How are you today?
All good. I'm ready to golf tomorrow and Sunday.
Oh, there you go. He's got the weekend plans.
Yeah. Very nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, I missed out on golf last weekend, so I got to catch up.
You didn't get to play golf in Colorado?
Nah, I
didn't want to rent clubs?
No, I rented a club and hit the driving range for a couple hours, but that was it.
There you go.
It's not bad.
Did it sail farther?
No. Not the 9-iron I hit.
No? Okay.
Not when you're short of breath trying to swing.
I'll tell you what, I played out there. You're running for the oxygen tank in between series.
We're going to talk defense a lot today in a similar way to the way that we talked about offense on Wednesday, right? So we're kind of flipping it to the other side of the ball, taking a look at a bunch of players on that side and trying to lay out what should be expected from them in a good, great season. Disappointing, what is the bar where disappointing comes into play?
Yeah.
For some of these key guys. Look, everyone is important on that side of the ball, so I don't even know how much we'll get into each individual starter necessarily, but we'll get the most of them, certainly as we go through this show today, Tommy. But if you had to list the 5 most important key players on the Jaguars defense, who would you list?
Number 1 is Eric Armstead playing defensive tackle. I think actually I'd make him top 2 in the overall team, as that's got to really work out. Like, I think it's going to be that much of an impact, him playing that 3 technique more so than not. So he's number 1. Of course, the 2 rush ends are alpha dogs. Yeah, they're fantastic. I think I'm going to throw Wingard in there. I think he's going to win that job for at least to start the season. I think he's going to give him comfort knowing, where to go and how to, make sure the calls are right. Everybody's in the right position. He makes enough plays. So that's 4. And then I'll go with Lewican as 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have our Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day, and Wingard is in there. Okay. And what we're asking is, which of these returning Jaguars defenders is most likely to have a breakout season?
Okay.
And you can send us a name of someone else if you would vote for someone else for a breakout season. There's reasons why I didn't include Armstead specifically on this one, because he is a player that's had established seasons in the league. Yeah. So breakout would be something like double-digit sack year. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's well outside of my expectation for Eric Armstead this year. So the 4 players that I put in the poll this morning: Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, Mason Smith, Andrew Wingard.
Okay.
So it's which of those 4 do we most expect to have the breakout season this year? I'm springing this on you, so if you want to think about it through our first break here, that's fine.
Nah, let's go. Come on, rapid fire.
Tell me one bold prediction you have for one player on the Jags defense this season.
I don't know how bold it is, but I'm going to say Mason Smith is a menace for most of the year, meaning very tough against the run and gets us 4 sacks for the year.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a problem child, as AC/DC likes to sing. I think he's just primed. The only question I have, and I've said this before, watching him in the offseason, he's got to be in great condition, right? So people and even players too. When you're practicing, you literally, unless you're doing 2-minute, you're going 3 plays and you rest.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe 3 or 6 plays go by, then you go back in. It's high intensity. You're running around. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not like a 7-play series, a 10-play series.
Right.
So you got to make sure you're in shape for those kind of things. Like, you know what I mean? You can be like, I feel great. Yeah, well, yeah, you've only done 3-play series. That's nothing. You're not going 3 and out every time.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get long drives. Remember, they'd have 17-play drives. Remember last year, it seemed like every opposing offense had their first drive was like 10-plus plays.
Yeah.
They didn't always work out to be touchdowns. Sometimes they'd be field goals.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember one was like 17-play drive for a field goal. Bend don't break.
Yeah.
But
like Philadelphia hadn't scored on an opening drive in 18 years, and then they played the Jaguars. Right. You know, like that kind of thing was a reality for the defense.
You got to be in shape for that, because that stuff can spring on you, and you're like, oh. Because once the legs go, then the mind goes, then you're totally screwed. Yeah,
Mason is an interesting one for me because he's worthy in the previous administration's eyes of being a second-round pick, right? I don't think the league, when they saw them making that pick, was necessarily going stupid. Like, I don't think that was the reaction necessarily you saw from the league. He's a player with a lot of promise, right? He was
a project when they grabbed him.
No doubt.
Yeah.
With, we got to figure it out with this guy a little bit. And then speaking exactly to what you're speaking to, it was that kind of thing that had them last year saying, we can't even activate him. We can't even activate him. Like, he's not taking it seriously enough in what we need him to take to be a pro for us. And then late in the season, it seems like some of that stuff got worked out.
Yep.
So they were allowed to get him on the field. He played pretty well in the opportunities that he had late in the season. I think those kind of things happen, and it does feel like, well, he went through it, so it'll never be a thing again.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we hope it'll never be a thing again, but why would it ever be a thing in the first place?
Yeah, you're young. You're young. I mean, listen, I chase what do they say? Burn the candle at both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before meeting my wife, that's what I did. Right? I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was an NFL player. I worked my butt off. I worked hard. I always went to work on time. I always was there doing what I had to do and then some, but I went out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was single, and that's why I think I said earlier in the week, like, man, I to be able to play for your family is like a totally different thing, right? It's a real job. Like, it was a job, but it didn't feel like that. It just felt like I am playing ball. Playing in the NFL, this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saving my money. I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm also out there. So you eventually got to hone that in. You know what I mean? You got to be like, all right, look, I gotta be better. I can't be going out. Look, all that booze will affect your body, no matter how young you are. Eventually, it catches up. Mm-hmm. I always joke. I'm like, man, I wish I would have cut it in half. Like, go out 2 nights a week, instead of 4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but you eventually grow up. So he's got to grow up a little bit. Look, again, you're coming from college where they're kissing your butt all the time, right? And you get to the NFL, and I don't know what happened. There was something weird that happened I think there was a little pull and tug between, the GM and the head coach. I'm not going to play him. I'm not going to activate him.
That's obvious given the way that they were using players last year all over the roster, and they drafted a guy in Javon Foster.
Yep.
And the coaching staff basically said, well, they wasted that pick.
Yep.
Right?
No, right.
That's essentially the way that they've reacted to that since it was done.
Yeah.
Is the coaching staff said, we have no plan for this guy. And I think, Tommy, there's a difference between you were never a guy that didn't take it seriously enough that when you were around, you were around.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it was 100% everything you had, whatever was required, I'm doing it. When it's my time, I'm doing my thing. Right? And it felt like the Mason Smith thing was more, he didn't understand when their time was their time.
Yeah.
You're here for us right now.
Right.
Right? Like, you don't get to do it your way.
Right.
You have to do it our way in order to earn the opportunities. We want to give you opportunities.
Right.
But this is what we have to get from you. And it does feel there is a clear line and how that is going to be defined with what they brought into the building this year. Liam Cohen is as clear on those things as you can possibly be.
Yeah, and I think Mason did have an ankle injury a little bit. Yeah, so that factored into
no doubt
a little bit. No, listen, I mean, no matter what you do the night before, you get up and go to work. And you go and give it your all. I don't care if you don't feel good. I don't care if you're hungover. I don't care. Get in the sauna, start drinking liquids, do whatever. They got everything to replenish you at the stadium. Trust me. Your best place to go if you're hungover is the stadium. Prior to going out there on the practice field, they can get you back, no problem. But that was the era. I mean, man, my dad drank whiskey almost every night. Guess what? Every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, he was lifting weights right in the family room. When I was in college, I'd sleep on the couch. His weightlifting would wake me up. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, we were up till like 12:30 telling stories and talking and having a few drinks and whatnot. But that was the era. I was hearing stories back when I was with the Jags, like guys in the late 80s. They'd be out all night, and they'd just walk right in on game day and, hey, I need to get over this hangover, and I go out and play. Like, it was just that's what they did. It was that kind of era. So, maybe there's something to that. I don't know. Look, I think at the end of the day, Mason Smith has got tremendous ability, and he can have a monster career. He could be one of those guys that really makes a difference inside, like we know around the league. I'm not going to compare him to anybody, but you know who those guys are. They play defensive tackle for the most part, and they're some of the best in the game. Can he get there? I think physically he has that ability, and then it's going to just come down to, look, it's going to be, look, if I had a message to the players, it's over for most of us before you want it to be. It's just over. You get hurt, you get faded out, your skills diminish, whatever. Not a lot of us get to walk away whenever you want.
Not everybody gets to be Calais and Mercedes.
No, or do that, right? Play 20 years, 21 years.
Everyone probably wants to in some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I could do it for 20 years, I would, but that's not how it works.
You gotta make sure you're doing everything right so you can play. Look, trust me, as a guy that wished he played longer than the 5 years I got credited for, you got to do everything you can to make sure that body's right, that mind's right. This is your job. And if you do it right, like the guy, like Mercedes, you do it right, you can play for a long time. And guess what? You'll never have to work. You'll never have to do anything if you are smart with your money. Especially today, man. You can, and I'm not trying to be, because I know the guys before us were like, guys, those guys are making too much money or so much money, whatever. I don't care. The pension keeps going up, so I'm happy for them all. But, man, it'll eventually end. Yeah. So hopefully, and I think that's Liam's message and James's message about they got to love football. Like, football's number one in their life. And look, that's your job. So it should be. It should be number one in your life.
It makes it easy to motivate you to get that next deal, right? Like when football is the top priority, then trying to get somebody motivated about that's not hard to motivate. This is what I love.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to get there? Okay, you got it.
Right.
Like, I'm willing to give what you're asking me to give. And I do think, and it's something we've talked about several times. I think whatever those things are being made very clear to everyone on the roster. Yeah. This is what's expected out of you.
Yeah.
It was interesting talking to Jamal yesterday about some of the roles for guys, and we're going to talk about a bunch of the guys, obviously, focusing on the defensive side today. But it's something like Devon Hamilton or Jordan Jefferson for who's the nose. Right, for the football team. And I know we've talked about Devon a lot here over the years, and I agree with you. I've always felt like he's more a 3 technique than he is a nose, like in my own mind. So I don't know that he perfectly fits, that nose tackle build. Jefferson probably fits it a little bit better, but it does feel like they're going to be going into training camp and looking at those guys with the other options they have on the defensive line and saying, we need somebody to be the 2-down run defender. That's what we need.
Yep.
We need one of you guys to excel at doing that. And if you can give us that, we have a place for you.
Right.
Show us that that's what you can do.
Well, that, and look, most of the time, you're a nickel a lot, right? So there's really not, sometimes there's a shade on the nose up front, but a lot of times you're over the guards and it's a little spread out. We need, whether it's the same guy or a different guy, we need another guy to man that 4 spot.
Yeah.
I think in that scenario, that nickel, I think Mason Smith is going to be your inside guy. Can he play nose too? I don't know. He just, look, we all know this.
They're going to test it to find out if he can.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you get high in your stance, you get driven back no matter how big you are.
Hamilton
It
thing,
doesn't matter. Like, so you got to stay lower, right? You got to stay in shape. You got to be in condition. Look, when you are out of condition, let's just say you lose your breath.
Mm-hmm.
What the first thing you do is stand up.
Yep.
It does. You don't stay because your legs are gone.
Yeah.
You're tired. Your mind ain't working. You're just like, I got to somehow do it. And then you want to stand up because it's the easiest thing to do. And guess what? They drive you back 5 yards, and then you screw everything up.
No doubt.
No
doubt. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day: which of these returning Jaguars defenders is most likely to have a breakout season? If you want to select someone outside of the 4 options we put in the poll, just send us the name that you would vote for. Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, Mason Smith, Andrew Wingard. We will definitely get into all of those guys today. Since we've been talking Mason and a little bit of defensive tackle, let's keep it focused on the defensive line when we return and some of the expectations for these guys going into the 2025 season. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you as we get things rolling here on a Friday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Traffic stinks.
No, wait a minute. I know what that smell is.
The Frangie Show doesn't.
You're absolutely right.
The Frangie Show.
Go on out and play in the traffic.
Your afternoon traffic deodorant.
It smells super.
On 1010XL.
Just when you thought we couldn't bring you more, Keon Atlantic is here with a brand new store. We have the same great team to treat you well, with new savings during our grand opening sale. Keon Atlantic is here with the new store. Shop our best offers and largest selection yet. Save big during our grand opening sale. Is there something for everyone on our lot? You bet. If you're ready to experience something new, the all-new Keon Atlantic is ready for you. Your perfect ride is a visit away. Online at KeonAtlantic.com. Keon Atlantic, your coastal Kia connection.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Get tips from PGA pros on Brunch with the Tour with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Tuesday morning at 8:30. Teed up by Clearwater Irrigation and Apex Roofing and Contracting. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
Big Chief Tire is coming to Mandarin. Lauren Brooks here. Join Big Chief Tire for their grand opening event on Friday, June 27th from noon until 5 p.m. for games, food, and fun. The Frangie Show will broadcast live, and Big Chief Tire is giving away 4 sets of new tires. Big Chief has served the Jacksonville community with locally owned auto services you can trust since 1961. From new tires to brake repairs, oil changes, and more. Stop by at 10 to 11 San Jose Boulevard in Mandarin or visit WeKeepJacksonville.com to schedule an appointment today.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal. Pretty nice weather we're having, huh? You think this is nice?
I mean, it's sunny, warm. We do live in Florida.
It's not all upside, Jason. Warm weather comes, so all the cool people hit the beach. My old air conditioner craps out, so it's 1,000 degrees inside, and I'm stuck on a video call in my underpants trying not to sweat through my...
Wait. Put these sunglasses on.
I'm not going to put on your...
Whoa. The air conditioning experts at Bueller Air and Plumbing can keep your home office cool and comfortable all summer long. You look good in your meeting, impress the big guy with your cool confidence, maybe finally make assistant deputy regional manager.
Wow, air conditioning can do that?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all summer worried the weather is going to be too nice, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home this weekend at newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Join us tonight on Red Shirt Friday for fireworks. Tomorrow features fireworks and a Wizard Club giveaway, all presented by Maxwell House. Come early on Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day for Catch on the Field and meet Bluey at the ballpark. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball.
This is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about being a godly example. Every day, we're setting an example in our words and actions. And many times, we can act one way in one setting and then totally different in another setting. My encouragement for you is to not send out mixed messages. God is depending on you to set the example in people's lives. You don't know, but you may be the only Bible that someone ever sees today.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Mac in the Middle, Tom McManus. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service. On 1010XL.
Yeah. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you.
Great tune.
No doubt.
Good job, Dylan.
Let's talk a little bit of defensive line for the Jags.
Let's do it.
And the expectations for... Look, they're all different for all these guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what would qualify as bad, good, great? For all of them is a little bit different. Right?
Yeah.
So we can talk about the expectations for the group as we go through it as well. But, you know, we'll start with the guy who does lead the group, and that's Josh Hines-Allen.
Yep.
So good, great. How do you differentiate between those two things for him going into the season?
Great would be top 3 or 5 in the league in QB hits.
Okay.
Top 5 in sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And top 10 in tackles for loss. That'd be great.
Okay.
Bad flip. You know, it's just not good. You know, he has 7 sacks. You know, not many QB hits, maybe 9, you know, or 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just bad. You can tell. I'd say it is hard per guy, right? Because at the end of the day,
if it's a group thing,
as a unit, they've got to be better. Now, they were good at times, right? They were good for a while on third down, and then it fell apart. They kept creeping up, you know, in that 40% range, which isn't good enough. If I can remind, I think I've said this before, but I'll remind you. So, like, and I don't know if they still have this board, but we used to have a board up on the wall, and it would say, in order to win, you have to do this or better. So points would be 17 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yards per carry, 3.8 or less. Third down, 33% or less.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the turnovers,
this
2
is
a
how
game.
We win. Yeah.
If you do this as a defense, we have a realistic shot at winning the football game. So it's got to be that. And for me, the thing that bothered me the most in the Doug Peterson era, and I believe this, and it's going to offend some people, but there was a blueprint in how to beat the Jags in the past couple years, and it was smashing them in the face because we didn't respond very well. We didn't respond as a defense. I'll go back to the rain game in Philly. What was that, 23? I think it was.
So, yeah.
And Trevor had a bad game. Remember the fumbles and all that? And I was more concerned about our defense.
They had the early lead. That was the Devin Lloyd pick six.
Yeah, they were up 14-7, I think. And then Philly was like, you know what? We're just going to start pounding the football.
Yeah.
And they pounded our defense into the ground. And Miles Sanders had a career day, right? Remember, he had a monster day, 3 touchdowns, 200 yards, whatever it was. And I'm like, ooh, I didn't like that because we didn't punch back, right? The next week, I want to say the Giants. I think we beat them, but the Giants, they started pounding us bad, and it was like, oh gosh, and then eventually, and I know I'm getting the years mixed up, I think, but eventually in 22 it turned with Dallas. Second half at Dallas, they really started playing some good defensive football. 23, 24, I tell you, man, you saw when San Fran came in here. Remember, I'll never forget that. I will never forget that as alumni, we're on the field. We come out first. They are in the tunnel with Trent Williams at the helm. Remember, they were on a 3-game losing streak. Finally got everybody healthy. They were foaming at the mouth. We were coming out like we're a parade. 8-3, look at us. Or 8-2, look at us. Look at us. We're the top. We're so close to the number 1 seed, and boom, they just steamrolled us to oblivion. San Fran did it. It just. So that's got to change. We can't be known for the team that's going to get out physicaled because I believe we were that team under Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
If you out physicaled us, we had a good chance of losing that game.
It felt like they had that reputation. It showed up in the way games played out.
Yeah.
That they had that kind of reputation, right? And when you look at some of the numbers that you pointed out there for Josh Hines-Allen for great season, good season, that kind of thing, and you look at what he's done in his career here in Jacksonville. His rookie year when he made the Pro Bowl in 2019, he wound up with 10.5 sacks on 23 quarterback hits, right? And that's Pro Bowl, right? Like that's Pro Bowl level stuff.
That's more than 1 hit a game. That's fantastic.
Right. He had the year where he only played about half the season the year after that, so it's hard to know exactly. But 2.5 sacks on 11 quarterback hits, and we've talked about that kind of thing before.
The ratio.
That's more like a 5 or 6 sack year.
Should be.
From that kind of perspective.
Yep.
Then in 2021, played the full season again, 7.5 sacks on 14 hits. So a little bit behind it, but not much.
Yep.
Right, on those rates. Then in 2022, which this is when I was calling for him to get the extension, 7 sacks on 22. Right?
22 hits.
Yeah. So it was like,
that's balling.
Watching him, I felt like he was more a 10-sack guy. That's what it felt like to me watching him play. But he only had the 7. The numbers are the numbers.
Yep.
You don't try to run away from that.
Right.
And then 17.5 on 33.
Yep.
When he had the monster year.
Oh.
And then last year he had 8 on 19.
It's 2 a game.
Yeah. The 19's a little, it's lower than I expect out of him. And I do wonder how much of that has to do with why are you asking him to play big?
Yeah.
Just why are you asking him to play big, and why are you taking him and or Trayvon off the field on key pass rush situations?
I think that was more of it.
Ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why wouldn't both of these guys, if they're healthy enough to go, not be on the field together on every third down pass rush situation we have? And that was not the case last year.
Definitely not the case. And even just starting off games and having different personnel and just rolling them out in and out. I think that was the bigger issue for all of them. It's hard to get continuity. It's hard to get into a rhythm, into a flow when you're constantly looking over your shoulder. Are they pulling me out? Are they pulling me out? That type of thing. But, okay, so QB hits. So what we need out of Josh Allen is 1 to 2 a game. That would be great because the monster year 33 is almost 2 a game.
He's a
19's not bad. I mean, listen, 19's 1 a game. That means you're at least you're in the backfield affecting things and you're hitting the QB.
Yeah. Josh is a player that I expect that number to be pushing into the mid-20s.
Yeah, the hits.
Yeah.
Like, what are the top hit getters? Do we know, any idea?
See if I can find it.
I would be curious as to, TJ Watt. What does he average a year? How many times does he whap in the QB? Not just pressuring him, not just getting in his face, but actually hitting him and knocking him to the ground. And by the way, I don't know the actual definition of hits. Is it knocking him to the ground? Is it, getting a hand on him?
Like,
you know
there
what I
is
mean?
something I think that defines it. I'm not sure exactly how they do.
Yeah.
It's probably much more well-defined than pressure, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because those are different everywhere. And that's why, I'm looking at Pro Football Reference to get these numbers. They don't have a QB pressure stat on there. They have the sacks and the QB hits because it does feel like it's a counting stat for these players. And looking at Trayvon Walker now, and what would be a good and bad season. Look, he's been a double-digit sack guy in each of the last 2 years, 10 and 10.5.
Yep.
We're talking about Josh Hines Allen and the QB hits thing. You look at Trayvon to this point in his career, right? Looking at those same numbers, 3.5 sacks, 10 QB hits his rookie year, 10 sacks on 19 QB hits his second year, 10.5 sacks on 15 QB hits last year.
Wow.
So it's, for Trayvon, I do think whatever that next step is him emerging into a player that gets into the low 20s.
Right.
On that QB hit thing. And I do think he'll be helped by any kind of push on the interior creating more opportunities to do that kind of thing. I don't know. How much do you think Trayvon can create for himself?
Plenty.
Those opportunities.
Plenty.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think they've both shown that they can, and they both help each other.
Well, they have to. For them to have any of these numbers, they've had to do it.
The bookends help each other.
Yeah.
So I think I think he's going to be up for an even bigger year this year. I really do. I think he's a star in the making. I think he wants it. I think they all do. I think the attitude change is just so critical to this team and their success. But I think he's gonna. And again, just for people, like, it's not an exact science, but hits. 50% of your hits should be or typically are your sack numbers.
Yeah.
So if you're hitting the quarterback 24 times, you're around 12 sacks. Okay? Simple math.
Yeah. If Trayvon Walker was a 12-25 guy this year, monster.
Monster. Yeah. He can't. Look, that's 1.5 hits a game. Let's do this. Because I kind of look at them equal. I think Josh is a little bit ahead just because he's done it longer. But if I had to compare both those two together, they're closer together in terms of production, value, upside. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they're pretty close to one another. I don't look at Josh Hines Allen as this super duper stud rush end, and then Trayvon's, he's pretty good. No, I think they're both really good. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Like
I probably have a little bit more of a gap than you do between them, but that's okay.
So Freeney and Mathis.
Yeah.
Freeney was definitely the number one guy, but Robert Mathis was pretty damn good.
Yes, he was.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I could see Josh as Freeney, and I could see Trayvon as Mathis, right? Where you're like, oh, yeah, we love that. Then bringing a third, like the Giants had back in the day and when they were running for the Super Bowl, now you got something cooking.
Yeah. It's a question of what that third would look like. I know you've been very high on your expectations for Eric Armstead this year.
Yeah.
So along the lines of this kind of conversation, with him moving back to the defensive tackle as opposed to playing the edge for whoever had that idea for this football team. But apparently they've abandoned it, thank goodness, that Eric Armstead's going to be playing on the inside. So talking about Eric Armstead and Mason Smith together, if you combine their numbers, all right, talking about these kinds of things, where do you think would be a good number in this sack and QB hits area for them to combine for this year?
Okay, I would say combined QB hits 22.
Okay.
And then combined sacks like 10. Maybe 9 or 8, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So somewhere in there, I think they could be that effective. But let me throw in another stat, if I may.
Absolutely.
Block passes, getting your hands up and knocking that ball down. I think they'll do pretty well in that as well. That's it. Listen, that's a stat these days. It is
for sure.
I mean, it's a loss it down. I mean, basically, you didn't do anything, so you lose it down. You nothing. Like you knock the ball down and nobody gets it, and live another down. So I think those guys. Look, I'm not going to call them Stroud and Henderson at all, but man, wouldn't it be great if we got a little bit closer to that? Oof. You know what I'm saying? Those guys were absolutely phenomenal, and Armstead's gotten in them, no doubt about it. And then we could find Mason or whatever. I'm looking forward to seeing Jordan Jefferson too, man. I liked him in college. He was okay last year. I wouldn't put him at nose, and I know we got a ton of 3 techniques, so I don't know what you do with him, but I think he's got a lot of ability. And look, I'm not closing the book on Hamilton because they aren't. Mm-hmm. And when he looks at minicamp, depth charts matter, and he was out there. So, with the first guy. So, we'll see if he can maintain that, but let's see if they can get them all going. It's a key. It's a key. Here's the thing that I'm a little concerned is I'm really high on the D-line.
Yeah.
But I'm not high on the O-line. Right. And it's not fair because they weren't in pads, so I don't want to get too carried away. I'll never forget, what was it, a year or 2 years ago? Devon Hamilton's, man, he's having a monster camp. That's
when the back injury happened.
And then you're like...
Yeah, the freak back injury. Yeah. He was one of the guys that every day.
Yeah.
He was one of the stars there at camp. It was right after he had gotten the extension, everything. Right. It felt like, we'll see what this looks like. And then whatever happened with the back happened, and it was gone.
But our O-line ended up not being that great.
Absolutely.
So you don't know. You got to keep it in perspective is what I think the D-line looks really good. I think they should be a dominant force. Yeah. But I got to see more to really put that in cement.
And, you mentioned curious about the TJ Watt numbers in some of these areas.
Yeah.
If you want to know why TJ Watt is TJ Watt, let me give you some numbers on TJ Watt. His rookie year, 13 QB hits on 7 sacks.
Okay.
Since then, 13 with 21.
Okay.
14.5 with 36.
Whoa.
15 with 41.
Oh.
22.5 with 39.
Wow.
Then he had a season where he played 10 games but had 5.5 sacks on 12 QB hits. It's kind of a weird year for TJ.
Yeah, he was hurt.
19 and 36. And last season, 11.5 and 27.
Yeah, that's beast.
Right? There's one or two guys in the league that are ever active that are doing that.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be we know where this ends. It ends in a Hall of Fame career.
Right.
Right? That's what that is running towards.
Those are star numbers. Consistently. Superstar numbers.
Right. And I think Heinz Allen has that in him, but he hasn't shown that consistently yet. He's shown enough to be he's a really good pass rusher. Yeah. Right? That's where kind of the neighborhood that Josh Heinz Allen is in right now.
Right.
He's a really good pass rusher. And I think he's got it in him to have a 3 or 4 year run with those kind of things happening.
Yep.
But it hasn't happened for him yet, but I continue to expect that it's the Trevor Lawrence thing too.
Yeah.
I expect him to be a consistent top 10 quarterback in the league.
Right.
But he hasn't shown that yet.
Right.
And I see things that happen in a game where there are those 3 or 4 throws a game where I'm like, there it is.
There it is. Right. Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
There's only 2 or 3 other quarterbacks in the league that make that play.
Yeah.
Right. He's got those, but it's the consistency.
It's the other, there it is.
Right. It's all that other stuff too. Want to talk, continue to talk. Obviously, we were focusing on the defense today. Let's talk a little bit about the linebackers, the guys that'll be backing up. These front 4 guys that we dug into right here. But let's talk about the front 7 a little bit and what that's going to look like for this football team. And then we'll get into the secondary before we get done with the program here this morning. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. There's a certain romance to radio play-by-play.
We need you to be all strong and hot.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Carline here. If you're shopping for a new ride, you've got to check out Atlantic Infinity. Not only do you get a luxury vehicle, you also get the Atlantic Infinity Promise Free with every new car. That's almost $2,500 in added value just for buying smarter. And you don't have to sweat it out on the lot. Shop in their indoor climate-controlled showrooms. It's cool, comfortable, hassle-free. They're on Atlantic near St. John's Bluff, or browse anytime at AtlanticInfinity.com.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to and should be yours. Online at kuhnflowers.com.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece. Premium flooring. Take our advice. Home business, affordable price. Driveways, pool decks, garage doors, beautiful patios, and more to explore.
Living on Amelia Island? Having fun in Fernandina Beach? No matter what brings you to the fun, cozy town, make sure you check out the tap room at Mocama Beer Company. With a full flight of craft creations, from the Cosmico IPA to the Motor, the perfect Pilsners and Lagers, matching memories and some Mocama magic is what it's all about. Mocama Beer Company in Fernandina Beach, near the big water where the sun is born. And look for more Mocama craft at your local Total Wine or ABC Liquors.
Hunters know patience is part of the game.
Just got to keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out The Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At The Y, summer camps every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Want your son or daughter to enjoy sports year-round? Then log on to i9sports.com with summer and fall registration open right now, including girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows, plus plenty of other spots and sports on the First Coast. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 for a discount.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron, totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens, also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings, and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing contractor lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor, outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark here with you.
I'm a great air instrumentalist, if you didn't know that. I can do all the instruments on air.
Cold as ice.
Yeah.
It does feel like Dylan's kind of throwing to the conversation we were having during the break. And do want to get into the linebackers on the team and what we expect out of these guys. But I think it's interesting. You know, Dylan had spent the weekend and the first couple days of the week up in Colorado. So he got to experience that real mountain thin air.
Yep.
And, we were discussing as we were coming back on the break, it's cool that the NFL, you have the opportunity to go to all these different environments and everyone kind of has their own home field advantage.
Yeah.
Right? It bums me out when I see stories, and they'll pop up every offseason now, of these teams that have a clear advantage for where they're playing and where their guys can get used to it and the opponent cannot.
Yep.
Right? That are talking about, we need to build a dome. And I'm like, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're killing. It's not that I'm going to stop watching the NFL because Minnesota's in a dome, right? Like, it doesn't upset me that they do that kind of thing, but it is a bummer as an NFL fan. It's like, I don't want Cleveland to be indoors.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Like, I don't want Cincinnati to be indoors.
No.
Buffalo going indoors would be a tragedy.
No. Yeah.
Like, it would be like, what are we doing? It's cool that we have the opportunity, especially late in the year, playoff time.
Yep.
You got to come deal with our environment, right? Like, Jacksonville has it in September.
Yeah.
They don't really have that kind of
October.
thing necessarily in January.
Right.
Right. So they don't get that kind of thing. It's cool that there are teams that do get those kind of advantages late in the year, but I think that's part of the game. It's part of the coolness of the game. It's you guys going on the road and winning that game at Denver.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And part of the amazing part of it is you had to do it on the road in Denver in January.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all of those factors being a part of it are a big deal. I don't want that to be taken out of the game.
It's funny, too, that you mentioned that. So, in 96, when we went on that run, we got lucky with weather. In Buffalo, it was balmy.
Yeah.
It wasn't freezing. In Denver, it was balmy. It wasn't freezing, but it was hard to breathe because you're so high up. And then New England in the championship game was like 29 degrees. It was absolutely freezing. And you do have that advantage, but that's okay. That's part of. By the way, the domes are okay. But we have enough. Like, New Orleans has a dome. Do they need a dome because of weather? I don't know. But it's kind of cool that the Superdome is the Superdome.
Yeah, you're not playing
through.
I mean? You're not playing through the tropical storms there anyway.
So I wouldn't want all these stadiums to have domes, but a couple, that adds a little intrigue because it's different surface, right?
Yeah.
A little faster, maybe, a little bit different, a little louder because you're inside. So I'm cool with that. I don't want, everything to have to be outside.
Sure.
But a few domes is okay. But you're right. Buffalo can't be in a dome. Are you crazy?
Right.
No way. You got to play in the snow. There's some, that's their advantage.
Yeah. Can you, it's one of those spots where if anyone ever brought up the idea that, Green Bay is going to put in a dome, part of you as a football fan, you just
why?
be like, what?
Go play arena.
Right. What are we doing?
No.
Right? It's the whole Green Bay thing is Lambeau. That's the Green Bay thing is that place where it's at, where it's situated, and having to deal with the weather that time of year. Look, that's why the NFC North is the NFC North.
Right.
Because wherever you go, and for a long time when Minnesota was outdoors, it was wherever you go.
That's right.
You're going to have to deal with this kind of weather. Minnesota has the dome, and that's okay.
Yep.
I don't have Detroit has the dome, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of embedded.
But they're not Chicago.
I don't want the Bears to have the dome.
They're not Chicago and Green Bay.
No way.
Right.
Got to keep them open-aired. And that's the thing. Look, maybe, you know what? You're playing for home field advantage in the playoffs. Why? Because it gives you an advantage.
Right.
It's not just the fans screaming. It's the elements sometimes. Look, if you coming from Miami, you got to go play in New England, and it's cold. The ball's going to be slick.
To a point of, I can remember years ago when I was still watching TV announcing the schedules when they would come out for the regular season.
Yeah.
I would watch it on NFL Network every now and then.
Yep.
And I can remember one year I was watching it, and Kurt Warner is there on the stage, and they're discussing, as a veteran in the league, what are you looking at? When the schedule comes out and you now know when you're playing who, where, and when.
Yep.
Right? You get that in your hand. What are you looking for first when you are handed that schedule? And Kurt Warner was like, where are our games in December? Huh. Not who.
Right.
Where.
Yeah.
Are our games in December? What weather are we going to have to deal with?
Yeah.
In the last month of the season. And it would make all the sense in the world, especially for Kurt Warner and the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
What weather are we dealing with at the end of the year that could potentially slow down the greatest show on turf? I think there are more players in the league that do that kind of thing than we imagine. Like this, I have to be where, when?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, I can imagine QBs especially. They want to know the elements, I guess. I don't know. I always looked at primetime. Like, are we on Monday Night Football?
For sure.
That's all I care. I grew up at the Colts. I didn't care about the Colts. I tell you what, the Heat.
And y'all were good enough that you were going to be in primetime.
Yeah, we were after a while. Yeah, after a couple of years anyway. But we'd have one or two, I guess. But, man, the Heat is – that's what I'm saying. Jags, like, if I'm on the team today, I'm here. I'm not traveling. Yeah. I'm running in this heat. I'm getting ready for camp. I'm not going to kill myself, but I'm going to make sure that I am prepared to withstand the heat. And listen, you got one practice. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, and there is with that being said, there's a pressure that we don't talk about much, but we should probably talk about it more, right? In seasons where the Jags are generally going to be good, I would expect that they take advantage of the natural advantage that they have.
Yeah.
Of playing in this city and the weather that you have to deal with when you come here.
Yeah.
When you're coming in the early part of the season. They need to be able to take advantage of those kind of things. It should be an indicator of how good or bad the team is going to be in a given year. It wasn't a great indicator in 2022 because they were win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and then they got on the run in the back half of the year. But I think generally speaking, for this team in this city, being able to, if you get the team good enough that you can actually take advantage of the weather advantage early on in the season, that's when I think that'll be the barometer for how good are the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How good they can be potentially, yeah.
Right.
Well, look, I mean, there's definitely advantage. We'd always put the away team in their home uniform, in their dark uniform.
You have to.
I remember in 95 we played Pitt and Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green were like third quarter. They're like on their knees, like tired during like a timeout. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like we're not even tired. I mean, we're tired, we're hot, and we're sweaty, but we're not tired. But they're not used to it. They weren't used to it. So you definitely got to take advantage. September and October. October can be very hot here too. So
for real,
get off to a good start with that. But no, I think it's good. I think that's a good part of the NFL, dealing with different elements. Sometimes you play inside, sometimes you play outside, sometimes you play in the cold, heat, rain, whatever, you're playing.
Yeah, it's a fall sport that runs to the beginning of winter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so if you have to deal with, you're going to be playing through the weather change. Yeah. The big weather change in the country, that's the one they're playing through. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's part of the fun of viewing this sport is now we're getting into winter.
Yeah.
Let's see what this looks like.
Yeah. I tell you what's awesome is when you come from Jacksonville, you go on the road and it's not winter yet. It's just kind of fall. Mm-hmm. You can run forever. Mm-hmm. Like you're like, I'm not even tired.
We're all Travis Hunter today.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Like that kind of thing. Let's talk a little bit about the guys at linebacker, and we'll get into the secondary today as well. As far as what we expect out of all these guys, got to take a look around the National Football League as well. We'll get into that in the second hour of the program when we return. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010 XL.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. We're not rock stars. We're not movie stars. We're not stars. We're just guys and gals who love sports and the city of Jacksonville. We are 1010XL.
Plumbing problems? AC not blowing? Septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. Waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Baseball is back. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark is your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jumboshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable family fun.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Yo, it's your main man ET here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Mia here, and I love my custom closet from Closets by Design. With summer in full swing, having my warm weather wardrobe front and center is a game changer. No more digging for the right outfit on a hot day. If your home needs a summer refresh, whether that be a closet, a garage, or a pantry, schedule a free in-home consultation with Closets by Design. And the offer has been extended, folks. Receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. And free installation on any order of $750 or more. Visit closetsbydesign.com.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. What is a gemologist?
Frank, that's a good question because gemologist is a generic title that can be used by anyone, whether they have any gemological training or not. There's also a graduate gemologist, which is somebody that's taken the gemology courses of the Gemological Institute of America and received a diploma. Then there's a certified gemologist of the American Gem Society. They've received the graduate gemologist diploma, have worked in the jewelry business for a minimum of 3 years, and are tested by examination once a year to re-win the certified gemologist title. There's one other aspect that certified gemologists have that others might or might not have, and that's the accredited gemological equipment to be able to make the right grading calls on diamonds and other gemstones. At Underwoods, we have an American Gem Society accredited gem laboratory that our certified gemologists work in, assuring you the quality and value you deserve.
That's Underwoods, Florida's longest-standing member of the American Gem Society. In San Marco, Avondale, the Shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Home of the Jaguars, WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach, WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Denny Thompson here. You've got to check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast. But Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
This is your local sports update. RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by Duck Duck Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Had many basketball stars throughout the state of Florida hear their name called in the second round of the NBA draft last night. One being former UNF standout Chaz Lanier, who was selected number 37 overall by the Detroit Pistons, transferred to Tennessee, and then he is the 9th Tennessee player selected in the NBA draft during the Rick Barnes era. In his lone season at Tennessee, he averaged 18 points per game while shooting 43% from the field and 39% from the three-point line. Elijah Martin from Florida was taken 39th overall by the Toronto Raptors. He averaged 14, 4, and 2 over 38 games last season, starting 36 of them for the Gators. Currently 86 degrees at 10:59. Time and Temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Tom McManus.
Brought to you by by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service on 1010XL.
I know Tony Pauline would appreciate it, as do we. Here on the show. A little bit of Zeppelin coming in here. Tony Smith, Tom McManus, Dylan Denmark.
Yeah, getting the lead out.
No doubt.
Love it.
You know, like you hear this kind of stuff, it's like how, man, to be able to write one song like this.
Yeah.
And they only have 50 of them, but to be able to write one song like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's okay. I can tour on that one song for 30 years if you need me to. That's fine.
A party song to me, man.
Yeah, let's play it again tonight. That's fine.
right.
It's what the people want.
That's right.
You know?
Got to give them what they want, Tone.
Yeah.
Got to give them what they want.
No doubt. We'll get back to talking about some Jaguars linebackers and into the secondary as far as expectations for those guys this year. But first, let's take a look around the rest of the National Football League.
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Cleveland has released Ogbo Okoronkwo, who was set to enter the final year of his 3-year, $19 million deal that he signed with the Browns in 2023. He had 7 sacks over the first 2 seasons there on that 3-year contract after accusations by 16 massage therapists in the Baltimore area led to the Ravens releasing kicker Justin Tucker, who still denies all accusations that have been made against him. The league gave Tucker a 10-game suspension yesterday for violations of the NFL's personal conduct policy. Tucker is still a free agent right now, won't be eligible to get back on the field until Tuesday, November 11th. Due to the suspension, well, I wouldn't be surprised if we never see Tucker in an NFL uniform again.
Yeah.
Because who knows how this legal thing is going to work out. Like, it's still going on, but they got the deal done between the league and Tucker as far as what the suspension is going to be. So
that's significant. 10 games is significant.
It's not nothing.
Something's not right.
And for a player that was already, he wasn't bad, but from a Tucker perspective was declining, right? Like, he was the best kicker in the league for a long period of time.
Until the word got out that he likes a little extra.
Yeah. And the last couple of years, he's not been the same guy.
No.
And who knows how much of that is what's going on off the field that he knew was eventually going to break, and how much was it his skills diminishing. Like, it's impossible to know what the answer to those questions are, but whatever they are, they combine for he's not the same guy he was 3 years ago.
Right. Well, listen, kicking's a mental game. It's like golf, right? I mean, you got to have that kick swinging the same way every time, right? Yep. And then you get into funk, things outside start taking place and you start missing kicks.
Yeah, he's the guy that from 53, they would show like the highlights of him making a 53-yard field goal because it was in the dead middle of the uprights.
Oh, yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Yeah. That's what he was.
Yeah.
At one point, and then he wasn't.
He was, I read somewhere not too long ago, his jersey was one of the highest selling jerseys in the Baltimore area. I mean, the fans love this guy.
Why
Big time. No, I know. One of the greatest kickers to ever grace the field.
Yeah. And we know,
that ego gets in the way.
Baltimore's obviously had the level of success that they've been having, right? Baltimore's been really good for a really long time
No
now.
doubt. Great leadership.
And so for them, the kicker getting that kind of love is interesting just on its face. Right, that a kicker how good do you have to be as a kicker?
Right.
With the organization being in the position that they were in. But you know this, Tommy. We've done enough Jaguars shows where the team's been bad enough where we ask, who are the 3 best players on the team? And it's like, well, they're going to list Scobie and who?
Right.
Right. Like
the gunner.
Right. Like we've had teams that have been at that kind of level at times in Jaguars history. And even as good as we all feel about the special teams right now, like I think Cam Little's a stud.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And it's going to be for a long time. But we're at a point, even in the development of where this roster is, that when we ask questions about the best players on the team, we don't always have to say outside of the specialists.
Yeah, right.
Like even as good as Logan Cook and Cam Little are,
And Ross.
there are enough good players on the football team, right? Maybe guys that haven't reached the level that we think they can at this point in their careers, but good enough players on the football team that when we ask those kind of questions, we actually can come up with 5.
Right. Yeah.
Like that kind of thing without having to go to Logan Cook, who is a fantastic punter, but
phenomenal.
He's a punter.
Yep.
And it should be kept in that kind of regard.
Yeah.
If we want to compare him to other punters, I'd take him.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not that's the discussion we have to have over and over. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
About Jaguars football,
No doubt.
even as disappointing as the last year and a half has been. When we look at the linebackers, Foye got moved around all over the place last year.
Yeah.
How do you think they should use Foye, Oluwakin, and Devin Lloyd going into the 2025 season?
So I would, in the caveat, I want to see Kaiser and Combs still.
Sure.
I want to see them perform. But Devin would be my Mike on early downs. Nichols, Foye, and Ventrell Miller, unless one of the other 2 guys I mentioned can show they're better cover guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dime is Miller, I think. I think he's a better cover guy than Oluwakin, although with Oluwakin, he's so heady that, he can still cover.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Ventrell's a little faster and can cover a little bit better. But yeah, no, look, I think Devin Lloyd, he gets a bad rap because, and rightfully so, because he screwed up in coverage way too many times. I watched the tape. He did, but he also made some really good plays, and I think he's a very physical player. I think he's a really good instinctive run defender. He reads the ball really well. And then I think when you go to nickel and you want to take him off the field, on occasion, I'm bringing him back on the field to be up on that defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm standing him up over guards, over the center. I'm going to work some games with the other ends, with whoever else is out there, and I'm giving him a chance to rush the passer. I'm not talking about on the edge, although on occasion I may try that, but I'm getting him involved into that rotation and see if he can do anything on passing downs.
Looking at Devin Lloyd specifically, right? And you mentioned that on early downs, you'd probably have him playing the mic.
Yep.
Right? If I had included him in the poll today, where we were asking returning players in a breakout season, right? There are reasons why the guys that I didn't include. And this question is why I wouldn't include Devin Lloyd in this kind of thing. When you look at his numbers, right? His first 3 years in the league, his rookie season, he combined for 115 tackles, then 127, then 113. He had his only 2 sacks of his career last year.
Mm-hmm.
He had 3 interceptions his rookie year, 1 interception last season. What, if you had to quantify it, does a breakout season look like for a guy like Devin Lloyd? I don't know that whatever it is would be enough to get him the extension here as compared to whatever somebody else would be willing to pay him. But what would a breakout season look like for Devin Lloyd?
I'd like to see him be top 2 in tackles, and I'd like to see him involved in that pass rush and get three sacks, something like that. Look, if they think he can cover, then keep him out there. I tell you what would be ideal, I think, for him is if he could play like a Sam, like the old Kevin Hardy, where you can cover the tight end. Because physically, I think he can cover. I think it's more mental.
Yeah.
I don't think he's not fast or anything. I think he can do it. He's good enough to do it. I think the mental game comes into play. Maybe they need to simplify it a little bit more.
Would they be able to blitz him more if they had him at Sam?
Well, you rush Sam. You get involved in the rush. And then you could play Foye at middle and Ventrell at will. I wouldn't play Ventrell at Mike. I'd play him at will because he needs to be covered up and let his speed do the work. And then, again, Kaiser, let's see Kaiser, man. That could be a nice find.
Right.
Branson Combs. And then, look, Muma, we know what we have out of Muma. He's okay against the run, and he's good on special teams.
Yeah, his roster spot is threatened depending on what Combs shows that he can show you on special teams, it feels like. I think that is going to go a long way in determining whether or not they choose to keep Chad Muma or not and try to maybe even get Combs to that point to the practice squad when everything is said. That may be the direction it goes, but I think if Combs shows you that he can give you about what Muma gives you on special teams, that's his path to the 53. If Combs were a guy that were to make the roster, what do you think a successful rookie season would look like for him?
Just being really good on special teams and being a quality backup. Yeah, I'm not expecting him to be a starter. Look, throw in Dennis Gardeck. They went after him.
They did.
He's really good at rushing, supposedly, and he can play special teams. So you think that he's got a shot at making that. They drafted McLeod. I want to see him rush. I don't see him in space. They had him drop it into as a Sam one day, and I was kind of wild. It just doesn't seem natural for him to do that. I think he's a move forward kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's another guy that's got to show that, hey, I can play too. I can rush. I can play linebacker, and I can play special teams. So they've got quite the group that's going to be battling out. I mean, 5, maybe 6 at the most they keep, right? Probably 5.
Yeah.
5 out of 9, 5 out of 8 right now.
We know that it's somewhere on the roster, the flexibility that they have with Travis Hunter, they're going to be able to keep one more somewhere than they typically would.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it gives them the flexibility to do that. It's hard to know exactly where that's going to be.
It might be a week-to-week thing.
Right. And it may be, we don't know if it's going to be the offensive line or linebacker or safety, or it's hard to tell where they would want to keep the extra body that they can keep because they have Travis Hunter, but he does give them that one extra position of flexibility compared to a typical 53-man roster.
Yeah. By the way, we didn't mention Abdullah, which, look, they threw him out there early in minicamp, with the first team. So, can he play Sam and rush? I don't know. Yeah. I don't think he's that great of a rusher. He hasn't shown that much in the NFL, but can he play, a position that you need and help out on special teams? I know the players like him. You can tell they like him.
Yeah.
Like him around. But another look, it's funny these past couple of days when we've been going over these position groups, there's going to be some great battles, man. Mm-hmm. Big time. And you know what? When you get those pads on as a backer, there's one way, most efficient way to get everybody's attention. Light somebody's ass up in a real drill.
Yeah.
Like, come through and smash that, whoever running back that is, and maybe knock their helmet off and that kind of good stuff. And everyone will be like, okay, this guy can hit.
I go back in regards to that kind of story. I can remember one preseason, Dempsey and I went down to watch the Jags play in Miami one year. And it was with Garrard was still the quarterback at the time, and Reggie Williams was at the end of it. Everyone kind of thought they thought he was going to get cut. That was what the talk was going into that preseason was Reggie's going to get cut. And I'm watching the game from the booth that day down in Miami. And I nudged Dempsey, as it was happening, while plays were happening, I was like, Reggie has been wide open 3 times.
Wow.
He's not even part of the read.
Right.
He's not even part of the read. It felt like it was done for Reggie. And we go in the locker room after that game. Everyone else is changed clothes, showered, they're ready to go. Reggie is still in full uniform, head in hands.
Wow.
Just his face toward the ground. It was like he knew it was over. That next week in the preseason, they ran Reggie on a crossing route over the middle of the field, and he caught the ball after and just got absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
Right. And it was that day he made the team.
Yep.
Right. That day he made the team was the toughness that he showed on that play. It was like, oh, we can't get rid of Reggie.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of sometimes it is that one moment of you just showing whatever that thing is. And the coaches go, yeah, okay.
I liked Reggie too, man. I mean, he had some promise. He had that 1 year with 10 touchdowns. I remember when he showed up at Radio Row with sunglasses on, and me and Debs were like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man. You had 1 year that Nobody else had, unless they were a rock and roll star or some major
Reggie
player.
is Reggie, man.
Reggie's like, now maybe he's hiding his eyes. I don't know, but he came in with shades inside. We're like, come on, Reg.
Yeah.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of skill. I liked him. I liked him out of college, too. I thought when we drafted him, that was going to be a really, really good pick.
Yeah, just never blossomed, right? He was always just kind of okay at best.
Yeah, the 1 year was good.
It was.
That touchdown year was good.
Well, they haven't had a bunch of those in franchise history.
No,
So
right.
he's among the handful that have done that. The Jaguars Today question of the day brought to you by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. Which of these returning Jaguars defenders is most likely to have a breakout season? If you want to select someone else, just send us the name. Your options in the poll: Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, Mason Smith, Andrew Wingard. We'll talk about 3 or 4 of those options as we get into the secondary, as we continue along on this Friday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010 XL.
Jaguars Today for the renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Summer on the First Coast, the heat, the beach, and Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010 XL.
Hey, John, have you seen the exciting 2025 lineup at Randy Marion Cadillac?
They've got the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Vistique. It's a Cadillac lover's dream.
And the best part, over 100 new Cadillacs are in stock and ready for you to drive home today.
Plus, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and experience luxury and performance like never before.
Visit us today at Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard in Jacksonville.
Don't miss out on these incredible vehicles. Your new Cadillac awaits.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Tired of a plain and boring backyard? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop choice to beautify your home. With pavers, stonework, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces, pergolas, and driveways. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coating. Pool decks, driveways, garages, patios, we coat them all to make your neighbors jealous.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser share the huddle with Freddie T. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Fred Taylor, he's a candidate to go the distance.
On 1010 XL.
Hey, Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res. They want to help you clean your home or business. Big summer savings with 3 rooms clean starting at $129 and 20% off your air duct cleaning. Call them 904-287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal. Pretty nice weather we're having, huh?
You think this is nice?
I mean, it's sunny, warm. We do live in Florida.
It's not all upside, Jason. Warm weather comes, so all the cool people hit the beach. My old air conditioner craps out, so it's 1,000 degrees inside, and I'm stuck on a video call in my underpants trying not to sweat through my...
Wait. Put these sunglasses on.
I'm not going to put on your...
Whoa. The air conditioning experts at Bueller Air and Plumbing can keep your home office cool and comfortable all summer long. You look good in your meeting, impress the big guy with your cool confidence, maybe finally make assistant deputy regional manager.
Wow, air conditioning can do that?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all summer worried the weather is going to be too nice, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
If a birthday or an anniversary is looming in your future, take care of it today by ordering a floral arrangement online at CuneFlowers.com. High Flying Jacko here. Take it from me. An arrangement from Kuhn Flowers works like magic.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
June is Men's Health Month, and here's your reminder to be proactive and get screened for early detection at Ackerman Cancer Center. Many cancer instances are largely preventable and treatable. So take steps now to minimize your risk factors at AckermanCancerCenter.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's number 55.
Tom McManus.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service. On 1010XL.
Let's dive into the secondary for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 of the 4 options on our poll question today asking about breakout seasons for returning players or players that will be playing in this secondary with Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, and Andrew Wingard all included in our poll question today. What are your just baseline expectations for the secondary this season?
Gosh, to be much better. No. Like, you know how I feel about coverage. It goes hand in hand with pressure. You got to pressure QBs. I like our corners a lot. Whatever Travis plays, great. But I could roll with Buster, Jarian, and, of course, Tyson. You look at, guys that I brought in, Jordan Lewis, who's going to be our nickel. Safety still got to be worked out, but it looks like Eric Murray. And then I think it'll battle down to Wingard and the young kid, although Savage is trying. Mm-hmm. I'm a little concerned about the back end, but I got to see more. It's hard. As much as the defensive line has the advantage in offseason, the wide receivers have the advantage in the offseason too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just is. You can only go so hard at them, so hard at jamming them, so hard at anything. You know what I mean? Making a play. You can make plays on ball. Don't get me wrong, but I think they do have the advantage. So I just want to see more, but I could roll with that 4, and then Lewis being the nickel with Eric Murray, Wingard, or the kid. I think Wingard's going to win it just because I think they're going to feel real comfortable with him. Mm-hmm. And again, it doesn't – you want the 4-3 kid. I get it. Who doesn't? But you got to make sure it's the right move. And he is going from corner to safety, which, a little bit different, but they feel confident he can get it done. So I think after the O-line, the secondary is my next question. Like, how are they – now, again, you can't – especially if Anthony Campanile is going to play zone a lot, you better get pressure. I don't care who your DBs are. It's not going to matter. Even Travis Hunter, it's not going to matter. It's hard to lock guys down for more than 3 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unless they get consistent pressure and you play zone, if you don't get consistent pressure and you play zone, they're going to pick you apart and just go right down the field.
Talking about some of the counting stats for guys that play in the secondary in the NFL.
Yep.
Right. And the 3 guys that we have listed on the poll question today, obviously the player with the most expectation in that is Tyson Campbell. Right. He's the guy who's got the big second deal already after he had a really, really good second season. Right. And he's had the injuries the last couple of years, the hamstrings, and there's nothing you can do about it looking back. You have to just kind of has enough been done that it's not going to be an issue.
Right.
In 2025, you go back and look at, again, the counting numbers for Tyson Campbell. That second year, he had 3 picks, which is his career best. He had 2 as a rookie, 3 his second year there in the league, and 15 passes defensed.
Right.
Right. Which is, he is the type of player that is what the expectation should be, I think, every year. Is around those kind of numbers, especially the passes defense more than the interceptions, because that's more an opportunistic thing. Like the ball gets thrown in the wrong place, you're in the right place kind of thing. That's how interceptions feel to me most of the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not always that is the case, but that's how it feels most of the pass defense is I'm where you didn't want me to be. Right? Like that's what that feels like to me. I stopped the play is the pass defense number, and getting into where you're pushing, having one of those a game is fantastic. I think he's a good enough player that when we talk about a breakout season for Tyson Campbell, that's the number that I'll be looking at for the breakout, is for that pass defense to get where it's pushing 20 in this season.
Here's the thing, though, is that number, the PBUs, it's a little, I don't know, I don't want to say misleading, because the other side of it is, well, they're not afraid to go to you.
Sure.
So how many of those did you not break up and were actually catches or score? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So having a high number of PBUs, I get, because you're doing the job.
Right.
But they're also saying that, well, we're not afraid to throw to your side.
Well, and maybe it's a lesson learned in year 2. When you look at the numbers there for the past 2 years with Tyson Campbell, how much are they willing to throw at him? He's had 5 and 6 the last 2 years. Now that's playing 11 and 12 games, so it's a little bit limited. He's probably, if you stretch those out, he's probably more in that kind of 9-10 range is where he would have wound up if he had played every game.
I mean, listen, 17 is one a game. So you're going to have one a game. You know what I mean? I mean, they're going to go to you at least once, I would think, but, I do think when you're talking about secondary, though, interceptions do matter, no question, but that's a big group unit. Your pass defense yardage that you give up, that's directly on your secondary. Now, of course, the rush helps with that, but at the end of the day, when you're looking at pass defense, you're looking at your back half, right? You're looking at your secondary.
Yeah.
And
we know that, look, teams are going to try to attack Travis Hunter however they're going to choose to attack him. It could be run at him to make him get physical in the run game when he's out there defensively. It could be run him downfield because we know he's going to be playing some kind of snaps on offense too. Does he actually have the stamina to do this? And we know that's the expectation, is that teams are going to attack him in those couple of ways. And I do think, talking about the ball going to Campbell's side or not going to his side, is it good enough on the other side of Tyson Campbell that the ball has to come to his side, right? Like I do think he's the most dangerous player among that group, but is the other side good enough that teams can't just say, just don't worry about that? Like, we have advantages in these other places that we can attack if we want to. And it has felt like for the last couple of years, they've had advantages. Like everywhere else where Tyson Campbell is, not that he's been fantastic, but he's been good enough that you can create the advantage for you somewhere else in the coverage that the Jaguars have. Have they improved enough in the secondary to limit that kind of thing? That's a question that we can't answer till we get on the field, but they're at least trying to take steps in that kind of direction.
Well, look, I think the safeties were the problem in the secondary last year. If you had to pick between the corners and the safeties, I think they were the ones that teams were targeting. That were sending guys right at them, high-low on them to make sure they were going to jump the low, because that's all they did. And it wasn't just one player. It was Cisco, it was Savage, it was Antonio Johnson from time to time that were doing the same thing. So
that's the Murray-Wingard thing more than anything else. It's why it feels like Murray's going to be the starting strong safety, and Wingard being the free safety makes sense, because it would give them the opportunity to put two guys on the field that we're going to ask them to be in this place, and that's where they're going to be. Right? And that's not the way that it worked in the secondary last year. And what that means for how many big plays those guys are going to make, I don't know what to expect, with those kind of numbers. But I think they'll do the job well enough to allow the pass defense to at least not be completely run over.
They on my notes after every game, there were notes that the safeties were out of position, biting on fakes, high-lowing, in the wrong coverage, what have you, and cost us big plays. Remember the Houston game? That was terrible. And it was just mental mistakes. It wasn't physical. It was mental. So you expect with Murray and Wingard, at least to start, won't have those mental errors. They can't have the mental errors. Mental errors kill you. They just do. It's like fumbles on offense. When you have a missed assignment in coverage and it's blown coverage, you're giving them a chance to score every single time. It's just awful for a thing to happen. It shouldn't happen.
I think it's not hard to pick Tyson Campbell as the best player in that group of players, depending on what Travis Hunter's going to turn out to be, right, in the National Football League. And I think if Hunter was asked to just play corner, that I would consider him the best corner on the team right? But I don't think that's all he's going to be asked to do. He's going to be asked to do both, and we'll see what exactly that looks like. But they add a guy like Jordan Lewis to a team and a defense that has not had any of the kind of attitude that Jordan Lewis is going to be bringing to the field. And, you had the opportunity to be a part of teams that had a guy like Beasley that like
swagger.
Right. Like he just walked a different way.
On his toes.
Right. Than everybody else. Like he was just one of those guys. Yeah, and when you have a couple of those kind of guys on the field that can carry the attitude for you, you don't need everybody to be that. Right? But it was a defense that had none of the attitude, right? That didn't mean they didn't have some good players. Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker are good players, but they're not the attitude guys. Like, you need some of that swagger on that side of the ball. You got the opportunity to see that up close and personal with some of the guys that were on that team. You had plenty of guys on the defense that were willing to. Tony Brackens is not the guy that he's just the big brute.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to do what he wants to do on the field.
He had his own swag.
Right.
Just different.
It was just different. Like, I think Hines Allen has his own swag. It's just different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not the
Same
Jordan
with Trayvon.
Right. It's not the Jordan Lewis kind of in-your-face kind of thing. And I think teams need a little bit of that somewhere on the roster.
I love it. I mean, I really do. You got to, as long as they back it up, you can't be faux pas. You know what I mean? You can't be phony. You know, you can't be false prophet, if you will, out there. You got, if you're going to walk that talk, you talk that talk, you better walk the walk. And you know, look, I like guys to talk.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's fun. I wasn't a talker. I mean, I had the same response. And I can't say it on air, but I always had the same response. Like, I wasn't that creative, you know, but it's good to have that little talking going on, and that little, jabbering going on, and that little, feisty kind of talk. And then we get into it physically. And again, as long as you back it, I love swagger. I really do. And swagger doesn't mean you're cocky. It just means you're really confident. And there's a difference. And I like that. And you can have that out there in the street. You can have that in business. You can have that anywhere. But for a football team, I like that swag. As long as they back it up. I'll tell you this story real quick. Before my 5th year, I had 2 big hits in training camp. Knocked one guy, knocked him out of, his breath. He shouldn't have reached for that ball over the middle. And another guy, I accidentally knocked his 2 front teeth out of his mouth. Well, back then you could do that. But anyway, so they wrote an article. Michael Vega from the Boston Globe wrote an article. I was, I think the year before, I was named the hardest hitter in the Big East. And they wrote this article about being a big hitter. And I was really like, it's all about team. And I wasn't trying to be like, yeah. I did say one of my favorite hits I've ever seen was Quentin Coriat when he was at TCU, I think. No, was he TCU or Texas A&M? He lit some receiver up, broke his jaw, took his eye. I was like, man, he lived for that hit. That's a hit and a half. Anyway, and I remember I was stretching before practice during camp, and Coughlin came up to me. He's like, look, if they're going to write that about you, you better be that every single time. You're gonna say you're this big hitter? Well, you better be a big hitter every time you meet somebody. And I was like, yes, sir. I know. You got to back it up. You can't. You know what I mean? And I didn't walk around with that swag. I'm not trying to say that, but the point is, you better back some stuff up if you're going to put it out there. If you got swag, if you're talking smack, well, then you better, the problem is too many people talk smack, they get smashed in the face, and then they start crying.
Yeah.
What'd you hit me for? I'm like, you're talking smack. Yeah. Now, anyway, but I think it's good for a football team to have that.
Yeah.
I really do, especially on defense.
Yeah. Was it Marvin Jones?
Yeah, the shade tree.
Yeah, who had the comment about, have you ever had the perfect hit?
Right.
He was like, no. And they're like, what? And he's like, they've always gotten up.
Gotten up, right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's,
whew. Yeah.
That kind of attitude. But I think, again, a team needs a little bit of that. Everyone doesn't have to be that.
No.
Right? But
you need a thumper.
You need a little bit of that kind of attitude on the team along with the other kind of things that you need.
Right.
There's a recipe for it, and it can't all be one thing.
Right.
It's got to be a bunch of different things coming together.
Go back to Double D and the presence he had.
Attitude.
And everybody knew that they went against that number 20 is going to come up, and he may even rock his own teammates' world, but he's rocking your world.
Yeah, and
he's coming up to smash you.
And he's the nicest guy on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But not on that field, man.
No.
Double D wanted to take your head off, and you need that on a team. For sure. So who is that on our defense now? Who do you think it could be? Like, who's the enforcer?
The enforcer on the defense, I don't know.
I think Mason Smith could be, but he might get too many penalties.
Yeah, I think, right.
I don't know if he can corral it in. You know what I mean?
I think with all the things that he can do, it can be Trayvon, right? Like if he gets
he's a silent assassin.
Like a little bit more attitude.
Yeah.
Like if he carried himself a little bit more that way, right? Like I think he could be that kind of guy. But I do think the enforcer needs to be a guy that's more in the middle of your defense. Right, like I think it by necessity probably has to be safety, middle linebacker,
or a defensive tackle that totally destroys people.
Right, it's that kind of. It's going to be in the heart of what you're doing is where that kind of thing is going to come from. And right now, I don't think they really have that.
Yeah,
you know, like their personalities just aren't that kind of thing.
Is there one on offense? We don't know yet. We haven't seen the O-line yet.
I think Brian Thomas Jr. on the field, yes.
Oh, he's a dog, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
and the way opponents react to him. Like, he's talking the whole game. Like, you can see it.
He backs it up.
That he's talking the whole game. He doesn't do it in the media. He does it on the field.
Yeah.
You know, always talking. So he's got that kind of attitude to him on the field, and we'll see what it looks like with Hunter.
Hey, when you're number one wide receiver, you got to have that swag.
Yeah.
You got to have that confidence. You're not going to go out there and perform the way you need to perform. You got to feel like I'm better than everybody out there. Just get me the ball.
Right. I saw CBS Sports is breaking down different NFL teams, all quarter-century teams.
Okay.
So for the Jags, that would be you kind of throw away the first 5 years, right? So the only sustained run of success they've had from 96 to 99, you kind of throw that out. You still get the back halves of those guys' times here in Jacksonville. But I thought it'd be interesting. We don't have a whole lot of time to get into it, but maybe with the opportunity to think about it going into the break a little bit here, Tommy, when you throw out those guys on those teams from 95 to 99, right? So guys that weren't here a whole lot of time after that, you kind of, Tony Baselli, you get 19 games of Tony Baselli if you throw it after 99, right? You don't have Leon Searcy at all. Right. So looking at it that way, how many positions, when we look back on it, do you think they have never found a better player at a given position than what they had in those first 5 seasons? So we'll think about that as we go through the break. We'll get into it as we put a bow on this edition of Jaguars Today here on 1010 XL.
Jaguars Today.
For the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL. 1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
This doesn't strike you as kind of dumb?
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
We're family. We're going to be doing lots of dumb stuff together.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Wait till Christmas.
Firehouse Subs has fries. Your hometown hero since '94 just cranked up the heat. Hot subs, crispy fries, golden, pillowy on the inside, and perfectly seasoned. Over 30 Jacksonville locations. Firehouse Subs, homegrown and now with fries.
Yo, it's your main man E.T. here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
Jacksonville, Florida. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois. CordellCordell.com.
This is Jaguars Today Friday, brought to you by CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner. With honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
Man, I can't wait for Saturday. I'm going to the Jacksonville Axemen Rugby League game. They're playing the Southwest Florida Copperheads, and it's going to be good.
Rugby league is crazy. No pads or helmets? No, that's a real contact sport. Count me in.
Join the ratified credit union Jacksonville Axemen as they take on the Copperheads at the UNF Turf Field tomorrow night at 6:30. Tickets start at $10 and kids under 12 are free at jacksaxe.com.
During the NFL offseason, 1010XL keeps the information engine turning. There we go. More. Roll through the offseason with AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
What does it mean when someone says the continental United States?
It's always a good idea to compare homeowners' insurance rates when it's time to renew. Before storm season, log on to southernoak.com and get an instant quote or find an agent in your area.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The continental United States refers to all United States in North America. Hawaii is in the southern hemisphere.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com, powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 87.
We've been digging into the expectations for the different position groups, basically, on the defensive side of the ball. This morning on the program, Tommy, I mentioned as we were going into the break that CBS is doing all quarter-century teams for a bunch of different spots in the NFL. It's, you know, you got some teams that have been around for the whole century-long history of the NFL. So the last quarter century is interesting when you're comparing, like, the teams here in the last 25 years compared to the early years of the Packers, you know, that kind of thing. You'll have some spots with that kind of thing. With Jacksonville, it's interesting as well, simply because the first 5 years is when the only sustained run of success happened in franchise history, were those early days with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So everything from 2000 on, if we're only looking at the last 25 years of Jacksonville Jaguars football, when we look back on it, how many positions do you think that they have never found a better player at that position? We know offensive tackle They've never had anyone that's better than Tony or Leon. Right?
Yep.
Like, those are the two best that they've had in franchise history, and that's those first 5 years. Quarterback, I think you can put in that category. I think Trevor Lawrence will eventually surpass Mark Brunell in all the statistical categories, but Brunell is the guy who led him to 2 AFC championship games.
I'm taking Brunell.
Right?
I mean, at least at this point.
I don't know how you wouldn't.
Yep.
I think Fred, because the last decade basically of his career was in the 2000s, and Mojo. You're right. So it's not that they've gotten worse at the running back spot. Wide receiver, Jimmy was here after 2000. Keenan played a couple years. He had a couple 1,000-yard seasons. In 2000 and 2001. But
Justin Blackmon could have been one of those guys. We'll see if Brian Thomas can continue, because he definitely could be down the road.
Yeah, they haven't had anything that has surpassed that. Let's see. Anything, I mean, Meester's the best center probably in franchise history, right? So that's a position where they have been better in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
I think defensive tackle, they've been better when you have Big John and Stroud. And it depends on how you want to classify Calais.
Right.
But I don't think they've gotten worse necessarily with the edge position. When you combine Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, what we've seen them do recently with Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue, I think you combine those four guys, they at least match. What T-Brack and the guys that were playing with them had.
That was a great front. I mean, they had a great front. And look, let's not forget Paul Spicer was great up front with Stroud and Henderson. Rob Meyer was great up front. And by the way, I was going to say in the last segment, I don't think Del Rio's teams gets enough credit. I think they were some pretty tough teams. I really do, man.
That's how they were built.
They were good. They were tough. They were physical. They were tough. They had a great defense for a while. Quarterback was okay. Was sometimes really good, sometimes not. But man, they had some really good teams, man.
But the quarterback, like David Garrard playing quarterback for that team, matched the personality of that team.
Oh, for sure. He was fantastic.
Right? Like, it was one of those things where there was a run of 4 or 5 years in Jaguars football where every opponent who played the Jaguars knew they're going to bloody your nose.
Yeah.
Like, that's the style of football you're going to be playing today.
Yep.
And when you were going up against a team in the division like Indianapolis, there was nobody else in the league that was just playing specific. We're bloodying your nose today.
Yep.
And it's why whatever success they had against the Colts they had, it's because they would go into the game and we're going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Physically, we're going to challenge you on this. You don't get to play NASCAR football today like you do against everybody else. We're going to make this a short game, and it's going to be about the trenches, and our trenches can match up with your trenches on a given day.
Yep.
They were willing to make that bet.
No doubt.
Week to week.
I would I'd throw Puzzluz in there.
The linebackers.
Mike Peterson.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were really good.
Mike Peterson, Puzzluzny, Telvin Smith, Foye Luakin. Right. Like, it's the linebackers, they've been pretty good.
Very good.
In recent history. We'll see what winds up happening with a guy like Brian Thomas.
You can make an argument, although Bees and him are pretty tight, but, Rasheen was phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
I think right now, if I had to pick the best player defensively in Jaguars history right now, I would pick Rasheen. If I had to pick one name.
Wow.
Yeah.
He'd be up there. He was awesome.
I think you'd have to have the debate, between Rasheen and, like I've said since he signed the contract, I think Josh Hines Allen's going to wind up being that guy, but I wouldn't put him there yet.
He's one of the best. Yeah, you got to give him some credit.
But he's one of the best, and I think T-Brack is in that discussion with that kind of thing. Before we welcome in Helmets and Heels, let's answer our question of the day. We'll do it in the form of a 10-10 take.
10-10 take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
Asking you on the Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day, which of these returning Jaguars defenders is most likely to have a breakout season? If you want to select somebody else, just send us the name that you would like us to consider. Your options in the poll: Tyson Campbell, Jarian Jones, Mason Smith, Andrew Wingard. The majority of the votes going with Mason Smith. I would vote Tyson Campbell. I think a healthy season of Tyson Campbell, I think he will be the guy that he is exactly what I talked about. I think he will be the guy that pushes towards tying at least his interception number with the 3 that year and pushes into that 20-plus passes defense. I do think everything else in the secondary is good enough that he's going to have the opportunity to do that kind of thing this year. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Tyson Campbell, but the vast majority of the votes this morning going with Mason Smith, getting over 63%.
Yeah, I can see that with Mason. I think he's got a lot of promise, came out strong at the end of the year. Big monster. I think he could be a menace. You know, we haven't mentioned Jarian Jones's name a lot today, but don't forget about him, man.
Yeah.
I don't think we should forget about it. I think he's going to fight for some time, and you know what? You always need another DB. You know, guys go down and got to be ready. And look, he's going to, he's going to fight for that starting spot whenever Travis ain't playing, and you're going to utilize him. I think he's a really good defensive back. I look forward to seeing what he can do in year number 2.
No doubt. We'll see how all that works out. It does feel like Jarian's the guy that's going to be most directly affected by how much Hunter is going to be playing.
Feels
right?
like
that could change by the time we get to how it's actually going to play out, but that's the way that it feels like.
Hey, last 2 years, Campbell's had injury. You need someone to step in. Buster's done a good job.
Yeah.
And you need some other guys to come in and step in.
Yeah. It's not unreasonable, given the last 2 years with Campbell, to say, well, he'll get hurt. Like, it's not unreasonable to say that kind of thing. You don't want it, but it's happened the last 2 years. People are doing the same thing with Trevor.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, he's been hurt. So it's just a matter of when he's going to get hurt. I don't look at it that way, but I can't change anybody else from looking at it that way. You know, when we have these discussions, let's say hello to Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
As we say hello to Lauren Brooks. How are you this morning?
Hello, I'm
Lauren?
great, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I still got 10 minutes of morning,
That's
so I
right.
snuck it in there.
There you go.
Under the deadline here today. What does a breakout season for a guy like Mason Smith look like?
I think at least 5 sacks. And I know that that's asking a lot of the interior because he's
5
not
is a
gonna be
monster year, yeah.
Right. He's not going to be the only one that's trying to get those from that interior. There's a guy named Eric Armstead that's there too. I don't know that Devon Hamilton, I'm going to project, is going to get multiple sacks this year, but yeah, I think at least 5 for Mason Smith. He had 3 last year in limited playing time. And by the way, talking about the corners, I was just thinking back to last year. The competition at outside corner opposite Tyson Campbell would have been, well, there was no competition. It was Ronald Darby. But after him would have been DeAndre Prince and Buster Brown, maybe. Chris Braswell, I suppose. Yep. So now you've got a lot more competition at that other spot.
No, they've certainly, when they talked about raising the floor on the roster, it's that kind of stuff.
They did it.
Right? Like, it's just, it's elevated everywhere. And, we've talked a lot about going through the whole defense this morning on the program. And safety specifically, if they get nothing else out of whoever's going to wind up starting at strong and free safety for the football team, I think they have solved the problem of everybody's hands going in the air with the where were you? Like, or why were you there as opposed to here? I think they've at least done what they could do to solve those issues in the secondary this year. What kind of dividends that pays, we won't know till they get on the field.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when you had Jamal St. Cyr from Channel 4 on, and he was in that group or that room where they had all the position coaches, and you get to talk to them. I went last year. I wasn't able to go this year, but you get some really good, interesting stuff. And I loved his comment on Caleb Ransaw that, yes, he's switching positions, and he's going to learn the new position. He'll be fine doing that. But it's the vocal side of things. As a corner, you don't have to be that vocal because you're pretty much on an island covering your guy. As a safety, that requires a lot more communication. And so it's okay if they bring him along a little slower because you do have someone who's really good at communicating out there in Dewey Wingard.
Yeah, and it's the question of how quickly Caleb Ransaw picks it up, I think, answers the question of whether Darnell Savage is on the 53. Right?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be tough for him, or several of those guys in the safety room. I think one of those guys that a year ago was definitely on the team may not make it.
Yeah, and they're not shy.
No.
Oh, no.
About moving on from guys when they feel like it's time to move on.
That's another unit that's got tremendous competition going into camp. Antonio Johnson, come on, man. You got all the tools. You got to step up and make this team.
Yeah, he's in that
be a
mix for sure.
contributor,
Yeah. And I know that they love Jordan Lewis, but if it wasn't for that knowledge, I would say it's a competition at nickel corner between Jarian Jones and Jordan. But it's not. I don't think it is.
Right. And to some degree, it could be a competition if you're looking at it saying, which of you guys is better at playing outside? Right. And for the moments where we're not going to have Hunter on the field, when we only have 2 corners on the field, which one of you is our guy? Right. Because I think they're both great in that nickel kind of position. They're both can excel doing that kind of thing. So one of them is going to be doing that.
Yeah, you know, it's disappointing now that I think about it. We could have seen Jarian play outside last year. And obviously, he told us after the season that he asked the coaching staff to do that. We would already at least have a little bit of knowledge as to, you know, how good he is, how much he needs to learn at that position, or is he fast enough, you know, all those things. But we don't have that information.
Yeah, right. I am really hoping
Let's not talk about last year.
Right, that the team is good enough in 2025 that I can write a sad book about 2024 on defense. Right, and people would read it going, gosh, can you believe we dealt with that? Right, like we can do it in a looking back and saying, that was terrible. Look where we're at now. Like, I hope.
I would burn it right after I read it.
Turns into that kind of thing. Those are the best books, though. The Chaos is the best book. That's right. You know, when everything is said. What do you got coming up on Helmets and Heels today?
Yeah, Hacker's going to join me today.
Nice.
Taylor's on vacation. Yeah, so we will talk nothing but Gators. I'm just kidding. We won't do that. We'll, of course, talk some Jaguars football, NBA draft, and have Hacker go down memory lane when it comes to Friday Night Lights. 19 years of doing that show this season. And so, yeah, we will do all that. That's coming up today.
All right.
We've been doing that for 19 years on this station.
No kidding.
There was a time where I had a narrow esophagus.
I did the first 12 years of the Friday Night Lights.
And
with
then
Hacker.
you got the Bulls gig.
I was doing, basically. I did a couple years over at Episcopal.
Okay.
And
That's
then-
never that linear, right?
Yeah. A couple years doing Episcopal when Burnell was still over there and Tony Baselli was an assistant for Episcopal for a number of years. But then
My how times change.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now I do the Bulls thing. But yeah, did the first 12 years of the Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights is fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and we
heck
will, of course, have Bishop Kenny and Bulls on our stations again this fall.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. I'll be making the trip down to South Florida in week 1.
Yes.
We'll see exactly what that's going to look like for the Bulldogs. We'll be listening.
All right. Thanks so much.
Helmets and Heels.
Weekend.
Thank you. You too. Helmets and Heels coming up next here on 1010XL. Any weekend plans, Tommy?
No, not really. Gonna hang out, relax, enjoy some weather, and just eat some good food and probably drink a little booze here and there. We'll see how it goes.
Dylan Denmark, I know you're teeing it up tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. None more, none less.
That's all I got.
I have my own kind of every year when we're coming up on 4th of July.
Yep.
I've made it a personal tradition that I try to read something about the Revolutionary War.
Oh, wow.
So I'm in the middle of a book about what happened in 1776 right now.
Vicious.
Yeah.
Bloody.
It's something else. And so I'll be digging into that this weekend, hoping the Braves can get on some kind of run against the Phillies, but I don't expect it with where the Braves are at right now. But we'll see what happens with it. That'll do it for us. Mike Dempsey will be back on Monday, done with the assignment. For Tom McManus, for Dylan Denmark, I'm Tony Smith. Helmets and Heels coming up next on 1010XL.
The Maxwell House